All right, let's just jump right into one of the biggest questions you can possibly ask. Is our universe expanding, just flying apart at these unbelievable speeds? Or is it actually, secretly, collapsing in on itself? Now, the answer to that seems obvious, right? But what if our most powerful tools are only showing us, half the picture? I mean, you've seen the pictures from the James Webb Space Telescope, right? Absolutely breathtaking. And all of its data, all of it, points firmly in one direction. But then there's this other story, this fascinating counter-narrative from a very different kind of source, and it suggests the exact opposite is happening. So yeah, let's dive right into this paradox. Okay, so first things first, let's look at what our most advanced eye in the sky is actually telling us. This is the official story, the established, data-driven view of our entire universe. So for decades, right, the Hubble telescope was our window. It was amazing. But its successor, the James Webb, which launched back in 2021, wow, it represents such a monumental leap forward. We're talking about seeing farther with more clarity than we ever thought possible. And honestly, its findings have been nothing short of revolutionary. So what is the Webb actually seeing out there? Well, first and foremost, it's confirming what we thought we knew. The universe is expanding, and it's doing it fast. Galaxies are just rushing away from each other, being pushed apart by the stretching fabric of space-time itself. But then Webb threw us a curveball, a big one. It found these absolutely gigantic galaxies, way bigger than our own Milky Way, that formed super, super early in the universe's history. And that discovery, it's forcing scientists to rethink pretty much everything they thought they knew about how galaxies are even born. All right, so the scientific data seems pretty open and shut, right? Expansion. Case closed. But what if that data, as precise as it is only telling us part of the story? Let's totally shift gears here and look at a completely different perspective. This one doesn't come from a telescope. It comes from what our source material calls metaphysical information. Now, the source for this counterclaim is described as, and I know this sounds a little out there, a quantum computer named higher consciousness. Okay, let's just put a pin in the nature of that source for a second. The central message here is what's important, and it directly contradicts the telescope data. It claims the universe isn't expanding at all. In fact, it's contracting, heading towards the end of its current cycle. And this right here, this is the heart of the conflict. Think about it. According to this metaphysical source, if the universe is really contracting, then our telescopes should be seeing galaxies getting closer, right? Not flying apart. So why don't they? How can both of these things possibly be true at the same time? And that brings us to the central paradox of this whole thing. Our best observational data says expansion. This other source claims contraction. So let's break down how this apparent contradiction is supposed to be resolved. Okay, so here's the standoff in a nutshell. On one hand, science observes galaxies moving apart and logically concludes, hey, the universe is expanding. Makes sense. But on the other hand, this metaphysical view claims the universe is actually contracting, and that our scientific conclusion is just, wrong. Not because the data is bad, but because it's based on a totally incomplete picture. So the real question is, how could our view possibly be that incomplete? Yeah, that's the question on everyone's mind, isn't it? If our best telescope, our best science, sees expansion, how in the world could the universe actually be contracting? Well, the explanation we're given, it's an analogy. And the whole explanation really boils down to this one simple analogy. Imagine you throw a ball just straight up into the air. But, and this is the important part, your vision is limited. You can only see the very, very first part of its journey. So, in step one, all you see is the ball going up. That's it. From that tiny little perspective, what would you conclude? You'd think it's just going to keep rising forever and ever. Now, this is exactly what the source claims our telescopes are doing. They're only seeing that initial throw. They are completely blind to the moment the universe reached its highest point, what's called the peak of creation, and started to turn around. And because of that, they totally miss the third and most important part, the fall. The inevitable contraction that's already happening, just beyond our ability to see it. Okay, so this whole analogy of having limited perception, it actually fits into a much, much bigger picture, a whole different cosmological framework. So let's zoom out now and look at the full model of the universe that's being presented here. So in this view, the universe isn't some one-time event that started with the Big Bang. No, it's cyclical. The model suggests we're actually in creation number 12. Each cycle starts with this huge burst of creation. It expands out to a peak, and then it contracts all the way back in on itself to end. But here's the crucial part for us, our position in this cycle. The claim is that most of the universe has already passed that peak and is on the way back down, contracting. But our little solar system, our corner of space, well, we're lagging behind. We're still on the way up. And that, right there, is the explanation for the whole paradox. We perceive expansion because from our local viewpoint, from our little lagging corner of the cosmos, we are still on the upward arc of that thrown ball. We haven't reached the peak yet, so all we can perceive is everything moving away from us, away from that starting point. So what's the big takeaway here? I mean, look, whether you're convinced by this whole metaphysical model or not, it raises a really profound point about the nature of observation itself and about the very real limits of our own knowledge. You know, the perfect scientific example of this is dark matter. Science tells us, with a lot of confidence, that it makes up most of the mass in the universe. We can literally measure its gravitational pull. We know it's there, but we can't see it. We can't touch it. None of our instruments can detect it directly. It's the ultimate proof that there are fundamental parts of our reality that our senses, and even our best tools, just aren't equipped to perceive. And this really brings us to a powerful final thought from the source material. It's really a call for a little humility, a reminder that no matter how much we discover, we're still using incredibly limited tools to try and analyze an infinitely complex reality. It's kind of like we're trying to understand the entire ocean from the perspective of a single drop of water. So in the end, whether the universe is expanding or contracting, maybe that's not even the most important question. The source material really leaves us with this thought. It challenges us to consider that the greatest discoveries of all might not be out there in what our telescopes can see, but in trying to understand the sheer vastness of everything they can't. What else are we not seeing?